Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Wish Infinite. In this video, we are going to talk about loops in Java. In Java, loops are used to execute a block of code repeatedly until a certain condition is met. Java provides several types of loops. Here we are going to talk about for loop, while loop and do while loop. Let's see how we can use these loops. So here in IntelliJ, I have already created one Java file with the name loops, and inside it we have a class with the name loops which is having the main method. Now let's take one simple example which we would be using to understand the loops. So let's say I want to print numbers from 1 to 3. So for printing the number, I can use this system.out.println, and here let's say I want to print number 1. So within the double quotes I have put this number 1, and I want to print 2 and 3 also. So that also I can put inside these print statement. But let's say now we want to print a number till 10 or till 20. So in that case, we will have to write this statement 20 times, or if we want to print it till 50 or 100, we will have to write this statement that many times if we will follow this process. And that's when loops will come into picture, which will execute this code multiple times. Let's see how we can use for loop. So here, for using this for loop, we need to put this for all small letters, then circular parenthesis or round parenthesis you can say. And here first we need to initialize one variable. Let's say we want to print a number from 1 to 20. So here I will initialize a variable and will give the value as 1 to it. So how we can initialize it? First we need to put data type, then variable name equals to, and then its value, which is 1. Let's say if you want to start from 5 to 20, then you can take 5 as the value here. Now we need to put semicolon, and after semicolon we need to provide a condition. So my condition is that I want to print number till 20. So here I will put I is less than equals to 20. So if I is less than equals to 20, in that case I want to execute the code inside the for loop. And now again we need to put semicolon, and here we would be updating the value of this variable, which is I. You can use any variable name. So now what I will do, I will increase the value of I 1 every time. So for that we will have to write I equals to I plus 1. So whatever the current value of I would be there, it will get increased by 1. And after these parentheses, we need to provide opening and closing of curly braces. And as we have used this I equals to I plus 1 to increase the value of I every time by 1. But let's say you want to increase the value of I every time by 2. So in that case, you can write I equals to I plus 2. So here what will happen? First, the value will get initialized, then it will check this particular condition. So here as value is 1 and this condition would be true, that 1 is less than equals to 20. So the code inside the for loop will get executed, and then it will increase the value of I by 1. And again this for loop will get repeated. This time value of I would be 2 as it got increased by 1. And again this condition will get checked, and then the code will get executed, and also the value of I will get increased by 1. And here if we simply want to increase the value of I by 1, so we can use the unary operator, as we previously saw about increment unary operator. If you have not watched that particular video, I will provide link of the video into the description, or you can click onto this I button at top right corner to access that particular video. So to use unary operator, I will simply put I plus plus here, which will increase the value of I every time. Now here, as I told, I want to print the value from 1 to 20. So rather than writing print statement 20 times, I will simply put it one time here inside this for loop. So system.out.println, and here I will print the value of I. So every time it will print the value of I, which will start from the 1, and it will check the condition, and if the value is less than equals to 20, it will execute the code inside this for loop and will increase the value of I by 1. And at the end, once the value of I reaches to 20, it will get executed last time, and once it is 21, this condition would be false and the code inside the for loop will not get executed. Let me start the execution. So right click, run. See, the value got printed from 1 to 20. And similarly, we can do the reverse also. Let's say we want to print the value from 20 to 1. So first we want to print 20, and then value should get decreased by 1 every time until it reaches to the 1 we want to print it. Let's see how we can do that. Let me comment out this code. Again, we will write for loop. So for here, I will initialize the value with that 20. So int, and this time I will give the variable name as j equals to 20 semicolon, and here the condition would be j greater than equals to 1 semicolon, and this time we want to decrease the value of j by 1 every time. So either we can write j equals to j minus 1, or we can use unary operator by using j minus minus. After parenthesis, we need to put these curly braces, and inside it I will simply print value of j. And we can use this variable inside the for loop only. If we will try to use it outside the for loop, we will get error. Now let me execute the script here, and see, value got printed from 20 till 1. Because first it is having value as 20, then it is checking this condition that 20 is greater than equals to 1, and as the condition is true, it will print the value and will decrease the value of j by 1. And the same process will get repeated until the value of j reaches to 0, where 0 is greater than equals to 1 will give us the false result, and this for loop will not get executed further. Now, apart from the for loop, we have while loop. Let me comment out this code also. Now, to use the while loop, we need to provide while here, all small letter, parenthesis, and inside it we need to provide the condition. So let me compare this while loop with this for loop. You would be able to see that what is the difference between for and the while loop. I'm commenting this part so that it is more readable for you. So as I told, inside these parentheses, we need to provide the condition. So previously for the for loop, the condition was like this. When we wanted to print the number from 1 to 20, so at that time we provided the condition that I should be less than equals to 20. So the same condition we can provide here as we want to print the number from 1 to 20. But before that, first I will initialize one variable. So int, I will give the variable name as k equals to, and the initial value would be 1, as we want to start the value from 1. Right, 1 to 20 we are going to print. And now within these parentheses, I will provide the condition. So the condition is k should be less than equals to 20. And now after these parentheses, we need to put these curly braces. So opening and closing of curly braces. So here we initialize the value outside the while loop, but here in for loop we were initializing the value with this for loop only. And then within the parenthesis, we provided the condition which we were providing here in the for loop. Now let's print the value of k. So as out, and here I will provide k. And now there is last part, that previously we were incrementing the value here with the for loop only. And with the while loop, how we will increment the value? So inside this while loop, we will update the value. So k equals to k plus 1 we can provide. Or as I told, as we just want to increase the value by 1, so we can also use unary operator. So k plus plus. So now what will happen? First, this value will get initialized with the value 1. Then within the while loop, it will check the condition that 1 is less than equals to 20, which is true. Then it will execute the code which is inside the while loop. So for now we are just printing, but here you would be putting your code which you want to execute repeatedly. And then we provided k plus plus, which is updating the value of k, where it is increasing the value of k each time. So the same loop will get executed until the value of k reaches to 21, and in that case this condition would be false and the flow will not go inside the while loop and the code inside it will not get executed. Now let me comment out this for loop. Now let's execute this particular part of code. So let's start the execution, and it should be able to print the value from 1 to 20 by using this while loop. And here in this while loop you can also do this reverse thing, right? Where for the for loop we printed the value from 20 till 1. So the same thing can be done here, where we will initialize the value with the 20. So k equals to 20, and here the condition would be that k should be greater than equals to 1. And here, rather than increasing the value inside this while loop, we will be decrementing it by providing k minus minus. Now we have third loop, which is do while loop. So the do while loop is similar to the while loop, but it ensures that the code block execute at least once, even if the condition is false. So irrespective of the condition, it should at least get executed one time. Let's see the syntax. So here I will comment out this while loop, and for do while loop we need to write do all small letters and then curly braces, so opening and closing of curly braces, and at the end of curly braces we would be putting this while and then round parenthesis where we need to provide the condition. So let's take this same example where we wanted to print the value from 1 to 20. So here first, before the do while, we would be initializing the value like we did for the while loop. So int x equals to 1 semicolon. Then I will provide the condition with this do while loop. So here we want to put the same condition that it should get executed if the value is less than equals to 20. So x less than equals to 20, and at the end of this do while loop we need to use this semicolon. With the while loop it was not required to use this semicolon, but with the do while loop at the end we need to use this semicolon. And now in between we can provide any code. For now I will just print the value of the x. So here what will happen, the value will get initialized with the 1, and then it will come to this do while loop, and first time it is not going to check any condition and it will print this particular value. So x equals to 1, which will get printed here. And now inside the do while only we need to update the value. So like previously we will provide unary operator to increase the value by 1 and then semicolon. So now first time it will print the value, then it will increase the value by 1, so the value would be 2, and here this condition would be true again because 2 will be less than equals to 20, and again it will execute this line of code where 2 will get printed and the value will get increased to 3, and every time it will check the condition and then will repeatedly execute the code until and unless the value reaches to 21. Let me execute the script. See, the value again got printed from 1 to 20 for this do while loop. Other code I have already commented out. We can understand this do while loop with the help of one more example. So let me write one while loop here first. So while, here I will initialize one variable. So int y equals to 0 semicolon, and inside the while loop I will put the condition that y should be greater than 0, and then these opening and closing of curly braces, and inside it let's print the value of y, and at the end let me increase the value of y by 1. So now what will happen? First it will initialize the value of y with 0, then it will check this condition that 0 is greater than 0, which is false, right? So from the starting only, this code will not get executed because our first entry condition itself is false, and the value of y will never get updated as we are incrementing it inside the while loop. Now let's reproduce the same scenario with the help of do while. So first initializing a variable int z equals to 0, then do opening and closing of curly braces, and at the end of curly braces while we need to put, and here I will put the same condition that z greater than 0, and after this while we need to put semicolon. Now here let me print the value of z, and let's increase the value of z by 1, so z plus plus. So now what will happen? This value of z will get initialized with the 0. Now it will come to this do while loop, and as I told that at least one time this code block will get executed because initially it is not checking any condition, unlike the while loop where initially only it was checking the condition. For the do while loop, it will directly execute this line of code, so it will print the value of z which is 0, and then it will increase the value to the 1 by this z plus plus. Now it will check the condition that 1 is greater than 0, and as the condition will be true, again it will execute the loop. Although this would be the infinite loop, but just to explain this do while loop, I have taken this example. Later we would be learning about break statement which we can use to exit from any loop. For now, just to explain it properly, I've taken this example. Let me comment out this previous code and let's start the execution. So as I told previously, it was not able to go inside the while loop because the initial condition itself was false. But now if I will start the execution, it will keep printing the number as this is the infinite loop. Let me stop the execution, and like this you can try multiple examples using for loop, while loop and do while loop. And from here there can be one interview question that what are loops and what are all different types of loops which are there in Java. So you can explain about for loop, while loop and do while loop. Sometimes they can ask for the syntax, and that's it for this particular video. Let me give you the quick recap. So here we saw that loops are used to execute a block of code repeatedly. We talked about these three loops: for loop, while loop and do while loop. So for this for loop, we initialize the value with this for loop only, then check the condition, and then we update the value of the variable, and then within the curly braces we provide the code which we want to execute. For the while loop, we first initialize the value, then with this while we check the condition, and if the condition is true, it executes the code, and inside the while loop only we update the value. Here no need to put semicolon at the end of the while loop. Then we learned about this do while loop where we saw that it will execute the code inside the do while loop irrespective of the condition. Even if it is false, at least one time this code will get executed which is there inside the do while loop. And for that the syntax is: first we will initialize the value, then we will put this do, and then we will put the code inside the curly braces, and after the curly braces we will put while and then the condition which we want to check every time. If it is true, this loop will get executed again, and if it is false, it will come out of the loop. And that's it from my end. You can click onto this first card to go to the next video. You can click onto the second card to access the whole Java tutorial playlist. And stay tuned for my upcoming videos. If you have any comments, questions or doubts, you can let me know into the comment section below. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much. Have a great day.